Sharing the stages of my life have been one of the hardest things for me to do. And if I don't really go ahead and I speak to someone about it, I don't think I'll ever get to. My name is Julie, and in this series, which I'm going to start, I'm going to be able to tell you all the things that I've gone through in my life. I'm 34 years old, but with 34, I've gone through a lot of things. Suicidal thoughts, depression, postpartum depression, anxiety, suicide, molestation, a lot of different stages which a lot of the people that do know me do not know about me. And I wanted to open my heart and share with someone that maybe out there is suffering with it and cannot speak out. I know it was hard for me to come out and actually speak with someone or speak about it without me breaking down in tears or feeling hopeless and lost. I did a couple of researches and I started to see the pattern of how many girls and boys nowadays are being molested, and how it is so hard to come out and speak with someone because someone has threatened you, tell you that if you tell someone, they're gonna hate you or they're not gonna believe you. That's one of the big things that I went through with what I'm about to tell you. So let's go back a couple of years. 1984, that was the year I was born. A lot of things happened. One of the things was that, sadly, where I'm from, my hometown, Peru, it was a really hard time economy-wise. So my parents had to make a big decision. And kind of, we stayed, or what we want to do. Of course, as a parent, you always want to do what's best for your kids. It is sacrifices, different movements, different jobs. So one of the big decisions that they had to was separate. You see, my dad was a cop, and for years, he spent taking care of us. I had the sad things that I had to see was my mom had a lot of depression. My mom didn't seek out help at all. There was no counselor, there was no one to speak with, there was no medication, there was nothing that she could reach out to. So I spent most of my life as a toddler, as a child, seeing my mom in beds, sad, crying, desperate for help. I didn't really understand it until it happened to me. So let's rewind to about 1990, 1992. Myself being 3-4 years old, we started living with my grandma, which actually this last year she passed away. It was really sad. We started living at my grandma's house, and in my grandma's house it was just me, my mom, and my grandma. Sadly, my dad had to make the decision to leave the States and come to the US to find a better job and a better opportunity to provide for me. I'm an only child, which is very hard. I went through a lot of things at that time. My dad did everything he could to provide for us monetarily, physically, calling us, writing us letters. But there was always that void in why wasn't my dad home in that matter. My mom took care of us as much as she could. But in all of that, I never knew why she was crying or she was sad or just feeling lonely, desperate, didn't know who to talk to. I was her best friend and so was she. Until I reached 4 and something really horrible happened. Where I used to live, one of my mom's cousins used to live there. And I didn't understand what had happened or how it happened. I just knew that something was going on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For all those years, I was being molested by this guy. He was family. And you know how scary it is for a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old to keep quiet because this person is telling you. If you tell someone, they're not going to believe you. They're going to kick you out of the house. They're going to hate you. And I'm the older person and they're never going to believe what you said. Everybody knows that I'm family. They'll never believe you. And like any other child, I believed it. So I kept it. And one of the most horrible things that started happening to me, I started to have panic attacks and anxiety, which I didn't know what it was. Can you imagine a 5-year-old having a panic attack, a 4-year-old having a panic attack? I was scared to death. I didn't know what was happening with me. I couldn't tell anyone. I didn't share with anyone. I was just afraid. Afraid to do something I didn't want. I had to do horrible things. I had to see horrible things. And endure a lot of pain with just horrible things that were said to me. It was hard. And at 8 years old, 9, one night I had a panic attack, a really bad one. I was just over it. It was just too much for me to endure. It was just, I was in a volcano and I was gonna explode, and if I didn't do anything now, I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I think it was probably a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Everything was really blank for me. It was nighttime, and you see, this person, he lived right behind where we lived. It was kind of like a patio, but in that patio there was like this special room on the side, and that's where he lived. He had his own private door, and we used to live on the other side where my grandma was and my mom. And I just remember that night as talking to my mom, because my mom used to tuck me into bed, and even of how I saw her crying, sad. My mom was the most hardest worker I ever seen. My mom used to clean my grandma's house spotless. She used to cook, take care of herself, be the best mom she could, be there for me, take care of me. But at that moment, I was so afraid to tell anybody. But something inside me said, enough is enough. It wasn't right, and I needed to speak, even if the person inside of me, or that small child inside of me, was scared to death. So that afternoon, actually nighttime, I remembered when my mom was tucking me in, and she said, I love you. And I said, I love you, Mom. And I started crying hysterically. And she said, what's the matter? What's wrong? And with tears in my eyes, I closed my eyes and I told my mom, like, this is what's been happening. I'm afraid. Please don't hate me. Please don't kick me out. Please don't leave me. I am afraid. I've seen my mom upset. I've seen my mom cry. I've seen my mom desperate, but I've never seen her in the way she was that night. I remember her flying out of that room, running with just some shoes, tennis shoes, and just, I was just crying. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. Here you have an 8-year-old just so scared. I mean, I was cold, I was scared, I felt lonely, I didn't know if I did something wrong or if I did something right. I remember just running to my grandma's room, which was right like next door to us, because we slept like right next to her, and just going to my grandma's foot, and she said, what's going on, what's happening, why is all this thing? While on that, I could hear on the outside screaming, beating, hitting, just a whole bunch of noise, which I wanted to just get lost in a hole and just disappear. I was so scared. I remember my grandma saying, what happened, what's going on? And I told her just a little bit of the story, because she was older and I was afraid. I didn't know what to do. Then my mom came after maybe an hour or two of just loud noises, screaming and banging and just a whole bunch of things. She came in with tears and she said, why didn't you ever tell me? Why didn't you speak out? How long has this been going on? Are you okay? She didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I told her everything that I could. It was like word vomit. I just kept going and going and going and just telling her how horrible it was and how scared I was and what would happen if anybody finds out, and about the family, and just everything came to my mind. An 8-year-old going through all of this was horrible. It was a nightmare. But then I knew that the next day and the next day after that and the next day after that, I wouldn't have to see the things or hear the things or be touched in a way I didn't want to, finally. But of course, with a lot of things that's happened, other things started coming out of me. I started developing anxiety, panic attacks, depression, everything. I was 8 years old. We were in my hometown. There was no way that I could get out. I remember going to school the next day feeling horrible. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to just get lost and disappear. I wanted to wish. Then why did it happen to me? Why wasn't somebody there to protect me? Why wasn't I normal? That's one of the things that I dealt with a lot. I always thought in my head, why was I normal? Why didn't I have that great vacation, or why didn't I have that great childhood, or I had a sibling to speak with, or just come out or talk to anyone. I didn't have anybody to speak with or to say anything. I mean, my mom spent most of her life sick, and she did the best she could. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. It was hard for me to come out. I didn't have a best friend to talk to say, you know, back then in the years, there was no such thing as psychologist or therapist or anything. And if there was, we didn't have any money to do it, nonetheless with somebody's threatening you. You have to understand, this person was not 10, 20, 30, 40. No, this was most likely a 49-year-old man, handicapped, may I say, molested me several times, touched me inappropriately, you know, horrible different things. I cried. I had to do things that I hated so much. But because I was told that I wasn't allowed to say anything, I had to keep quiet for many years. And it took for a long, long time for me to even speak about it. After 3-4 days, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to smile. I didn't want to say anything to anybody. I'm now a 34-year-old. I am married. I have 2 beautiful kids, which I guard with my heart and everything that I can, because I would never want anything to happen or anybody to go through with what I went through. And I know there's tons and tons of girls, kids, teenagers, millions of people that go through this every single day, and they stay quiet because they're afraid, because someone is telling them that they shouldn't do this, that they shouldn't talk, that nobody's going to believe you. And believe me when I tell you from the bottom of my heart, speak out. Say something, anything. Please, if you don't, your life will fall apart. Speak, find help. Talk to someone. There's many hotlines out there to talk to somebody if you've been molested, if somebody is doing something to you inappropriately, which you know it's wrong. Speak. And if you need someone to reach out, here are my links down here, somewhere back here. I would love to be that ear or that someone that you can speak with, because I know what it feels to have pain, to wake up, to feel desperate, to feel lonely, to feel anxious. And I'm not saying the battle is over, because guess what? This series is all about this whole battle that I'm going through. You have to understand that I'm still going through the battle of overcoming a lot of the things that I go through. I am a mom. I take care of my kids. I'm a wife. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my life. And I still go through a lot of things. And until now, in this year, I'm still dealing with a lot of things that I've carried on, that I kind of hide in my heart and never spoken with anybody. One of the things was to come out and speak to someone, reach out to anybody out there that maybe is going through that. Maybe it's a cousin, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's an old boyfriend, somebody, but it's not okay. Don't let anybody tell you that it's okay. No one should be allowed to touch you. No one should be allowed to tell you horrible things. Nobody should be threatening you. You are a beautiful person who has this amazing heart. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your hearing, don't let them tell you that you are wrong and that nobody will believe you. It is a huge lie. Please reach out to someone. I hope that my story encouraged somebody out there, anybody, to please reach out and find someone. Speak to someone. Speak to that friend. Maybe that friend that doesn't want to talk to somebody. Maybe that lonely person. Maybe something happened to them. Speak to them, because they could have gone through the same thing I did. I've met a lot of people through the years that said, you know, I never really told anybody, but yeah, I was molested also. Oh, I went through this, I went through that. And that marks you for life. It changes your perspective through everything. Being a mom, getting married, having kids, your relationship, it's really hard. I know it was for me. When I first spoke about it without me having to burst in tears and feel guilty, reaching out to certain people. Not everybody knows what I'm actually sharing with you, which actually a lot of people will probably find out now. But it's okay, because I want to help somebody. I just don't want to keep it inside of me and not tell anybody about it. I want to be able to reach out and help people. My husband has been a big support in a lot of the things that I go through. He's been there for a lot of the things that I have to face, that I did not want to face. But life is life, and you have to face it no matter what it is. I will continue to talk about other things that I've gone and I am dealing with now. I hope you still join me and tune in for next time when I speak to you something else that happened after everything that started this whole thing. Please don't feel lonely. Please, please, please keep going. I know sometimes all I thought about was, I just want to live. I'm just hoping to live. Because literally I felt like I was dying inside. I'll see you guys next time.